Well, not long after this conversation, he is headed on a golf retreat. Can't wait to see who wins that. It's Mark Grant. He is a TV director for CBS Sports. He has recently directed Final Fours. He does it all. He joins me on the Honest Something podcast. I'm Bryan Fenley. And this is a platform where we not only talk work, but we talk about personal life and family. So, Mark, I know I've had a ton of your colleagues on. It's a thrill to have you on, and thanks for stepping in and doing this.
Yeah, it's a privilege, and knowing I'm following in the footsteps of some people of my some of my colleagues. I certainly want to put my best foot forward today and do a good job.
Well, you definitely are, and I know you will. And I'm curious about putting your best foot forward when it comes to your golf game. Make the case for why, when you go out there this weekend, that you're going to win.
Well, I'm playing with some guys who aren't very good, but sometimes that puts more pressure on you. When you're the quote A player. Just a bunch of guys that we all went to LSU together. We're all really really good friends. There's already been a lot of smack talked about it, and we're going to fly to Tampa and see who, we made the best man win, made the best teams win. They're all playing off of my handicap, so I'm the A player, but uh, that doesn't mean anything. When you get out there with guys that you really, really want to beat, sometimes you make a lot of mistakes and you don't play as well as you would have liked because you're trying to beat them so bad you end up beating yourself.
You mentioned, and it's very hard for somebody like yourself to beat yourself because of how well that skillful you are in so many different capacities. But the stress of putting on a Final Four and doing all that, especially with all the execs and all the bosses with you in the production room, in the control room. What about the most stressful moment that you've ever faced on the golf course? What kind of shot is it? What am I looking for?
Well, I was playing in a match play tournament at my club, and I wasn't in the first flight. I wasn't with all the great players, but I was in the third flight. So, we're pretty good golfers, single digit handicap guys. And I was on match play. I had to make a 2 foot putt to win, and I missed the putt. And it certainly brought me back to Rory McIlroy on 16 at the U.S. Open. I felt his pain, and and then of course, we go to sudden death, and on the first tee in sudden death, I knock the ball out of bounds. He hits it down the middle, and pretty much the match is over. I make a double bogey, he makes a par. Um, but the pressure of golf is real, especially when you play with and you just want to play well. You want to beat somebody, whether you're playing for money or whether you're just in a game with guys, like I'm going to be this weekend with my friends. Um, there's a lot of pressure on the golf course, and I would say in some ways it's more pressure on the golf course than there is in directing the Final Four.
To be able to say that, what do you think that's like?
Well, I think some of that has to do with the fact that when you get to the Final Four, you've made it to the top. And you're directing a championship, whether that's the Super Bowl or the World Series or the NBA championship or the Final Four. You've made it to the top. You've worked really hard to get there. You've had a lot of dreams. You've had a lot of success. You've had failures. You've learned from your mistakes, and you finally get there. And so you kind of feel like you belong there. I mean, I think that when I directed my first Final Four last year in Houston, I was nervous, but I was excited, and I just kept saying to myself, CBS chose me to direct the Final Four, so I should be here. You get out on the golf course, and you're playing with your buddies, or you're playing in a match play tournament, and to win it all, to win the trophy or whatever it is, you know, there's a lot of pressure, and like I say, sometimes we miss 2 foot putts, and just like Rory on 16 at the U.S. Open, if he hit that putt 100 times with no pressure on him, he might probably sink it 100 times. But you just throw a little bit of pressure on you on the golf course, and you start to have self doubt.
Mm.
When I direct, I never have self doubt. I feel like I'm there for a reason. I feel like this is what was, it was. I earned it. It wasn't given to me. I earned it. But when I get on the golf course, I'm always thinking about, you know, you know, God, what if this ball doesn't break the way I think it's going to break, or if I'm hitting a tee shot over water, you think of the minute you think about not hitting in the water, the next thing you do, you hit it in the water. And so for me, there's so much self doubt on the golf course. And I really wish that I could channel some of that positive energy that I have in my job onto the golf course because I am a mess on the golf course.
Well, when you're traveling across the country and around places, it's probably hard to get in as many golf rounds as you want, and it's repetition, certainly, and with all the repetition that you've had when it comes to directing, no wonder you don't have that doubt. And what is the self-talk like, say, over a telecast in your head, where it's the juxtaposition of the self-doubt, where you're having conversations, obviously outward with your colleagues on the front bench and everybody you're working with, but then internally as well, what that is like.
Yeah, you sit there and you're directing the show, and especially when you do something big like the Final Four, you've got executives over both shoulders looking at you, and your bosses are there. They're the ones who selected you to be there, and so you really want to perform well for them who are sitting right behind you, sitting next to a producer. You want to have a good chemistry with that producer, and then you got all those people watching, right? You got millions and millions of people watching, and all you want to do is make sure that whatever I do, it doesn't become I don't want to be, I just want to be like a referee. I just want to blend into the woodwork. And, when the story becomes about the director at the Final Four, then that's never a good thing when they start talking about the director after the game. And so I just want to do a great job, make my bosses happy, service the viewer. And when you sit there and you're directing, you're the eyes of the millions and millions of fans who are watching, and you're trying to give them shots of what they want to see, whether it's a crowd shot or the mom that's praying or the dad whose son just made a layup or the emotion of the game and the guy who just fouled out who's on the bench. You're the eyes for America. And so through my years of experience in doing this, I feel like I've got a good feel for what America wants to see, what my bosses want to see, the relationship between me and my producer. It all just comes together, and it's a lot of fun.
Sure, as you were saying, Mark, you at times are not wanting the limelight, that there's something much more important at stake, which is getting the job done and being with your team. And like you said, blending in and mixing in and not standing out in that way. But when do you feel that you are comfortable receiving those accolades? What state of mind are you in? Where are you when you feel like that feels right?
Uh, it's never a bad thing when people congratulate you or tell you what a great job you're doing. But sometimes, um, you know, when I had a chance to direct the final, when I was chosen to direct the Final Four last year, um, it was the first time that a person of color had ever directed a national championship in any sport, whether it's the Super Bowl, the Final Four, the NBA championship, the World Series. There had never been a person of color to direct any of those events. And so, leading up to the Final Four in Houston last year, there was a lot of attention given to the fact that, oh, we've got our first person of color ever directing the Final Four. And part of it, I was very grateful and excited and proud to be the first person. But sometimes, at the same time, I was a little bit disappointed that it had taken so long. And I think part of my charge, part of my, my mission is to not let it take so long the next time. When I'm gone, and when I hope somebody else comes in, and a person of color can get the opportunity, because there are a lot of good people in this business that do what I do, and want to do it, that can do it at the highest level. They just haven't got their chance. So for me, um, I'm very proud. I'm very proud to be the first, but I hope I'm not the last.
We've talked about pressure, whether it's on the golf course or whether it's putting on a broadcast. How much pressure do you feel to, in a sense, you've done something, as you mentioned, with the Final Four that's groundbreaking, but to be that role model that you are for so many people, including myself, but the pressure that comes with that, where are you with that, and how much do you feel?
Uh, I would say that I don't feel as much pressure now as I probably did when I first got the opportunity to direct the Final Four. But look, I mean, I direct the NFL every single weekend of the regular season. I direct 18 games a week, and and so there's 16 NFL games max on a weekend. 16. That means there's 16 people doing what I do. Now you think about all the people in America that that cover sports, that are directors who want that opportunity. And I'm one of 16 people who gets the chance. And so um, being selected in that number, it's a small number, and I'm honored to be in that number. I'm not the, I'm certainly not. There's people who can do it who just haven't got the opportunity. Right now, it's my chance, and it's the other 15 directors' opportunity. But and so I don't really. I know that there's somebody looking over my shoulder who wants my job. There's always somebody that, if you're good at what you do, if you're great at what you do, there's somebody who wants the same thing that you have. And so I think that the pressure of continuing to perform at the highest level, um, knowing that there's people out there that are ready to swoop up and take my job, not only outside of CBS, but even inside of CBS. There's people who want what I have. And so um, the pressure of delivering and doing the job great all the time is always there. But if you learn to do great work, then you don't have to try to do great work because it just comes natural. And so um, I always like to try to perform at the highest level. I don't care if the game is 47-0. I still want to perform at the highest level. And so I think that's what motivates me and keeps me going, knowing that I've been chosen for this job, but there's a lot of people who want the job, do the job, and it's just my time now, and I got to relish and cherish my time and continue to do it for as long as I want to do it, as long as the company that I work for wants me to do it.
I like what you said there. You cherish it. You've earned this. You are in a place where this is something that you have worked up to. And while, yeah, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, you have put in the work, and this is something that you recognize and that you honor. How much does what you're doing now, if any, align with the vision that you had for your life going back to when you were an adolescent?
Yeah. uh, if if being if being a TV director is going north, my vision was going south. I mean, it was just the total opposite direction. I didn't know I wanted to be in television even when I graduated from high school. I mean, I went to LSU as a pre-med major, like a lot of students do, and um, uh, unfortunately for me, I just wasn't prepared. I made 3 Fs my first semester at LSU and almost flunked out of college. Was lucky that I didn't, and got another opportunity. I eventually fell in love with somebody that was majoring in broadcast journalism, and LSU is a big campus, like a lot of college campuses are, and I just wanted to be close to her. And so she was majoring in broadcast journalism, so was I. I changed my major to broadcast journalism, and that's how I got in it. But once I got in it and found out about what goes on behind the scenes. I never really wanted to be the reporter holding the microphone and telling the story, but I really liked the editing and the shooting and the writing and all those things that go on behind the scenes. And um, once I got into it, I knew that this was for me. And so, I followed that path and worked in local cable, and I used to direct city council meetings and school board meetings and high school football games and all that. But my dream is to always direct live sports, and you know, I feel very blessed that I can say that I once I realized that was my dream, I chased my dream and I reached my dream, and so I got to keep on dreaming. I still dream big, and I still want to do big things and great things. But I'm very, very happy where I'm at in my life and my career.
I want to touch more in a moment on the dreams, but how did you make filming city council meetings exciting?
It was very hard. It was look, I used to run camera on the city council meeting. So for me, it was like such a promotion to become the director, because it was like I got to sit down and sit in the TV truck and direct the council meetings. But there's a lot of stuff on those agendas that you don't care about, that you don't, that don't mean anything to you. But I'm telling you, they would mean a lot to the people in the community. And if we were doing a city council meeting and the signal went out, or the audio went out or something like that, people would call the cable company complaining and yelling and screaming and what's going on and why can't you get it straight and all that. So it was important to somebody. It was important to somebody, just like what I do now is important to somebody. And uh, some of those meetings last a long time. Unlike most sports, there's not a clock on a city council meeting. They can go as long as they want. Sometimes they went to the wee hours of the morning, um, and they were long, long meetings. But uh, I wouldn't be where I'm at today had I never directed a city council or school board meeting. And so, it's not always where you start, but where you finish. And they working in local cable was a major, major um, uh, uh, had a major impact on my life. And I wouldn't be where I'm at today had I never done any of that.
Going back to where you start, what was your childhood like?
So I'm a Navy brat. My dad spent 20 years in the Navy. Lucky. The one thing good about the Navy is you're always around water. I love water, so I lived in Hawaii. I lived in San Diego. I went back to Hawaii, went back to San Diego, and I went to Rhode Island. And my dad retired from the Navy in Rhode Island. Um, my dad left my mom when I was 15 years old when he retired, and I never saw my dad again alive. And my mom moved back to Shreveport, Louisiana, where I finished high school and then went to LSU. And so I had a real, I've lived a lot of different places and done a lot of different things. I feel like I'm a real well-rounded person because I don't have the same friends that I've had since I was 2 years old or anything like that. I've had to say goodbye to friends and reunite with friends. And um, I've been able to deal with people who don't see the world the same way I do, people who don't look like me, people who don't believe in the same things that I believe in. And I think all that experience, when you put it in the bag of Mark's life, and then what came out was this. I think it's all those experiences have helped me to get to where I'm at today, and I'm very thankful for all the experience. Even my father, my father was an alcoholic, and I learned a lot about life from my dad, mostly things not to do. Alcohol scares me, it terrifies me, and I've never been drunk. I'm 65 years old and can say I've never been drunk, and I don't drink. My mom, she when she moved back to Shreveport, where she was from, my mom eventually became an alcoholic, and alcoholism killed both of my parents. And I wouldn't say I lived a charmed life, but I I I'm I I wish that my parents had been stronger and not succumbed to alcoholism. But I don't know if I'd be the person that I am right now had I not had the obstacles that I faced in my life, the challenges I faced, and uh, the fears I have. I mean, I one thing I never have to worry about is getting stopped for DWI or anything like that, or getting in a fight at a bar because I drank too much or anything like that. That's not going to happen with me. It's not that I'm perfect, but um, I've just seen a lot in my life, and like I said, my dad left me when I was 15. I knew that I was going to be there for my kids. I would want to be a good father, the father that my dad wasn't to me. I'm very close to my kids. My daughter's 40 and my son's 37, and we have a very, very close relationship and relationships. And um, I think some of that is because I didn't have that, and I want to make sure that my kids can never say my dad walked out on me.
How healing has it been for you to be that dad for them that you didn't get yourself?
It's a little bit of it. It's great. I mean, it's great that my kids can they can reach out to me when they need something and they don't feel like they're intruding in my life. I've seen their success. I've seen their failures. My kids haven't always been perfect. As a parent, sometimes you just want to say, here's the playbook, read the playbook on life, and do everything I say right here, and you're going to be perfect. And then when they don't do that, um, you can get very discouraged and very saddened because you see them have failures that you knew if they had just listened to me, it wouldn't have happened. But um, just like I had failures in my life, they have to have failures in their life in order to enjoy success. And uh, I'm very proud of where they are and what they've done. And I think that if you were to talk to them, they would say that I've been a good parent to them. I've been a very firm parent. I've challenged them to be great, and whatever they do, and supported their efforts and whatever it is, whatever dreams they chase. But they're their own. They are their own. Uh, they're their own, and they're going to do what they want to do. But I hope that when they make decisions, they can make decisions with some type of foundation that I've laid for them and that they've since been able to grow on and build on from their own experiences.
With all of that said, how do you feel like they will go about showing their appreciation for you, even if it's not verbally, but it's say it's by their actions or something like that?
Yeah, I think that a lot of it is they have uh, both of my kids are very compassionate towards other people. My daughter's really involved with some charity work, nonprofit work, and trying to help other people out. Um, uh, you know, I think that it would be very easy for my kids to say, "I got mine, and you go get yours" to people, and not and be a little snobby because they were brought up I don't say we're not elite. We're certainly not elite in any way, but they've had some privilege that a lot of other people don't have, and yet I think they still keep their humility about themselves and understand that they're no better than anybody else, and nobody is worse. You know, they have issues just like other people as well. And so I think that the foundation that me and my wife laid for them, they've been able to develop that and build on that, and they become great people because of not because of not because of everything they're great at isn't because of us, but when you have a good foundation, you have a place to start, and I believe that we laid that foundation for them, and they've really reaped the benefits of that.
How did your wife know, and what did she see in you that she thought, all right, that guy, Mark, he's the one?
I just loved her. I loved her from the moment we met, and I just really gave her like they people say that you're in love when you care about somebody more than you care about yourself, and that was really true with my wife. I just knew that A, she could make me happy, but B, I everything I had to give somebody, I wanted her to have it. The love, the affection, um, my whole life, everything that I did, I wanted her to share in the success. And I would say that early on, it probably scared her away a little bit. I mean, I don't know if she was ready for somebody that doted on her um, to that degree. But when she finally realized that I was sincere and uh, this is just who I was, I think she saw a side of me that she really, really liked. And, we've been married almost 43 years now, 44 years now. And it's been a good run. And I think that if she were here, she's just in the other room, but if she were talking to you right now, she would say that she never met anybody who cared for her the way I do. And so I think that's what's the blessing that I've given her, and she's given the same thing to me. I mean, she's in addition to being a beautiful person on the outside, she's a beautiful person on the inside as well, and she cares about people, and she's made me a better person. I would not be the person I am today had it not been for my wife.
Well, if I were to ask your wife how you have changed since year one with her and what about you has stayed the same, what would she say?
I think she would probably say that I still love her and I still care about her the way I did before. I still do nice things for her. Um, uh, I cook. She doesn't cook. I do all the cooking. So those things, I think I've been the same with that. In ways I've changed, and I hope I've changed for the better. I'm much more patient now. I'm still ambitious, but I'm also more patient and more kind. And she's taught me how to help other people um, and be sympathetic to the needs of other people. We try to through her and I've learned that we try to share what we have with as many people as we can and bless people that aren't as fortunate as us. And I think she would say that I've grown into that, and it's because of her that I've done that. Whether it's her family, my family, people we don't even know, anonymous giving, all that. I'm much better at that now than I ever was before, and it's all because of her.
How much better are you? And I want to go back to this dreaming and what you do and how you've done that over the course of your life from getting to know her and how she's facilitated that inside of you even more.
Yeah, I've always been a big dreamer. I probably scare her away with some of my dreams, but I think the important thing is that uh, almost, I would say, almost all of my dreams involve her as well, and so um, sometimes she can't see the dream, right? Sometimes you tell somebody about your dream, and it's in your head. You see it as clear as day, but they can't see it. And I think there's been a lot of times when I've had those dreams, and she couldn't see what I was talking about. And then when the dream happened, the reality of the dream comes true. She realizes, oh yeah, now I get it. A good example is every year we take a vacation. 2 years ago we went to Kauai. Okay, so Kauai is an easy one to have. I don't have to say much and just say, honey, let's go to Kauai, and it's okay. But this year I wanted to go on an Alaskan cruise. That was one of my big bucket list items I've always wanted to do. And I think, we went and we did it, and it was great. And I'm not quite sure that she embraced the whole thing beforehand, but once we got there and took the cruise and saw the beauty of Alaska and Glacier Bay and all the places we saw, then she realized, boy, now I see your dream. Now I get it. And she was thankful that I had pushed her to do that. Even going back to when I wanted to, I worked in local cable, like I said, and I had an opportunity to go work for ESPN. I would have to quit my job in local cable, and uh, quite honestly, she didn't want me to do it. She was very, she's kind of caught up on the security of having a job and stuff like that. And what if I went to ESPN and it didn't work out and all that? But again, I'm the big dreamer, and I believe in myself, and I believe it's going to work out. And I've got faith, and I've got skill, and it's going to work out. And uh, you know, she would tell you, if she were sitting here right now, that if it were up to her, I would still be working at cable, still probably be covering city council, school board meetings. But I had the dream, and I chased the dream, and she let me chase my dream. And it's why I'm talking to you today.
That is so well put as we wrap up this conversation. So poignant because, yes, she might not have agreed, but the way that she allowed you still to do what you love and to chase, that's love. That
Yeah.
is love. And why you do what you do and how you've gotten to this place and reaping the benefits of your successes, but also being grounded in the fact that you know where you came from. You know what it took to get started and how grateful you are to be in this position. I know we talked about the gratitude and then also the father that you've become in using that from your tough times growing up without that dad and how you've been able to
Yeah.
instill that in your kids in what has to be such a beautiful healing process for
Yeah.
you.
It's great. Thank you.
Mark Grant, I'm Bryan Fenley. I'm looking forward to hearing how you do on the golf course. And I want to see a couple of birdies out there. I want you to knock an approach shot to
I
within
hope so.
15
Fingers
feet.
crossed.
Hey, and start making those 2-foot putts, will
I
you?
know, right?
Thanks,
Thanks,
Mark.
Brian.